right, good evening to everybody. We are excited to come with another segment to a call to be different. This month's interviews, we're going to be focusing upon those that have different podcasts, and those podcasters will come on and talk about the different work that they're doing for the kingdom of God or just to help build life in general. So I'm going to give Sister Laniya a chance to introduce herself, and we'll go ahead and get started on tonight.
Okay, well, hi everyone. I'm Lanaya Ivy. My podcast is Yakira's Perspective. You can find it on Apple and Spotify. And my Instagram page is Yakira's Perspective for the podcast.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So let's just dig into these questions here. So what inspired you to start your podcast?
Okay, so initially in 2020, I was listening. That's when I first started to listen to podcasts because we were all in the house. It was a pandemic. And so it was really nothing to do. So I initially started then. And the only person I was really honestly listening to was Sarah Jakes Roberts on the podcast. So I was listening to her almost every day. But that initiated it. And then I was like, you know what? I like talking. I talk a lot. I can really talk someone's ears off. And I'm one of my friends who, one of the friends that love deep conversations. So I'm always just talking about any and everything. And so I was like, I wouldn't mind actually having my own podcast. And then other people around me started saying like, yeah, you should start a podcast. So I was like, okay, maybe that's confirmation. Maybe I'll do this. Maybe I'll start, talking about these different topics and, push myself out there and actually start this thing.
Good. So I was able to listen to one or two of your podcasts. You keep it real, 100% real, which is good, from relationships to your walk with God. So how do you get your content? Like, how do you stay on that narrow path to say, okay, we're going to talk about this, that, or the other?
For me, it's like a everyday life thing. So when you see something take place, I'm like, wow, that's something that some of the stuff I already wanted to address. And some of the stuff is like when you go on social media and it's like, this is kind of controversial. Let's talk about this a little bit. And so it kind of helps me in a way because it's always something, it's always something going on in the world where it's like, we need to discuss this.
So true.
So it's like, hey, let me discuss it on my podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things that I would say intrigue you the most about you being able to talk with really sometimes no feedback, but just having your perspective out there? What do you hope a listener gains from your perspective?
Just honestly, Yakira's perspective is, obviously my perspective of things, but I want people to get that it's people out there who have different perspectives than you. We don't always have the same viewpoint of things. Yeah, as human beings, we may have some things in common, but it's somebody out there that views things differently than you. And even the people I'll bring onto my podcast, they're going to have a different opinion and point of view than me. And that's okay. We have to be open-minded and willing to hear people's point of view without, trying to keep them quiet. So if you can just gain understanding and, really listening to people and hearing what they have to say instead of being judgmental, I think that's a great way. That's what I want people to gain by listening.
And that's good because we live in a society that, you could say you love red and somebody will say, well, yellow is the best color in the world. And then you have this long-standing banter on why you have to accept what they believe.
Right.
And I'm not gonna go down that loophole on tonight. So, but I think it's important because, like you said, everybody has a different opinion about
absolutely
everything. And I think one of your podcasts that I was listening to was about relationships and basically just being open and honest about the relationship possibly not working.
Yeah.
And you basically said that it may be hard, it may be tough, but at the end of the day, it's just like, hey, maybe we're not just meant to be together.
Right.
Let's move on.
Right.
So to our viewers that will watch this at a later time or those that are watching now, if somebody is stuck in a relationship. And this is this is your perspective. What would your advice be to them? I know they may say we love hanging out, we have a good connection, but something may not be meshing.
I would say just be honest and communicate how you're feeling to that person.
Sure.
But I understand that people only walk away from something when they truly want to walk away from it.
I see.
You know, you can tell your friends can tell you, hey girl, that's not it, or that's leave them alone.
Yeah.
But it's until you say, I can't do this no more. This isn't working out. We're not compatible. I just don't find you interesting. It's until you make up your mind and say that, that's when things start to change. So if you don't want to leave, don't even, don't say nothing. It just make up your mind and then go about that,
Right. That's so true. And like my pastor used to tell me years ago, people already have their minds made up.
Yep.
So it's just like, it is what it is. But that's good stuff. Mm-hmm. So what would you say you have learned about yourself in the midst of you doing these podcasts?
I definitely learned how wise I am. Not to sound conceited or anything, but how wise I am for my age to talk about certain topics, because I listen to myself talking. You know, when you listen to yourself talk, you're like, oh, I'm just talking. But oftentimes I think I don't give myself credit, or some people may not give themselves credit about how much wisdom we have at this age, because we see older people, and although you're supposed to be wiser, that's not really the case sometimes. So to talk about certain topics and talk about mental health and actually want to get people help and tell people, hey, let's do the things this way, or let's think about it this way, I think that's a very wise thing to think about. And I'm only 23. So I'm like, oh, you're 23 and you're doing this. You're trying to encourage people. You're trying to tell them, hey, let's do this. Let's take this route. I think that's something I definitely learned about myself more and more.
And that's good, because sometimes, people say, well, you're not old enough
to
have went through that. But I think in this day and time, we are subjected to a lot of stuff, whether it be on the job, just the internet, period. So, I don't think age has to account to wisdom or what God has given us. Sometimes people always tell me you're wise beyond your years. Now, sometimes I'm like, I wish I would have adapted to that, but you still have to live and learn. So my next question to you would be, where do you see this podcast going? Because some start, they go 2-3 years, and then they just drop off. So where do you envision this going?
To be honestly, it's honestly a hobby for me. So just like anything else, when you love doing it, you keep doing it. It's something I enjoy to do. Now, if it does end up taking off, or something happens and getting a lot of more people attention, I wouldn't mind.
I see.
But initially it was just like, okay, it's a hobby for me to help people out. It doesn't necessarily have to, it's beneficial to me because it's kind of like venting, but I don't vent everything on my podcast, of course. Right. But that's how it's beneficial to me, because it's helping other people in a way, because people actually will give me feedback like, hey, this actually helped me in this situation, and in this friendship, in this relationship. So that's really the goal for me, to really help people, and that's my way of doing it.
So in your time of doing your podcast, what podcast would you say stands out to you the most, that people are like, hey, this really touched me, this really helped me?
I would say people talk about the Talking Stage podcast episode.
I see.
A lot.
Okay.
And as well as the friendship episode is something that stood out to people, because I guess that's a thing that, friendship is pretty heavy. And, the Talking Stage is very heavy as well, because the dating scene is very crazy. So
there you go. Come on.
Yeah. So for some people, it stood out a lot to them.
So within the podcast about the talking stages, what are some of the things that you hit on that made the listener curious to continue listening on?
I guess how I went about it is how we view the talking stage, in a sense.
Okay.
And why the talking stage or the dating scene is the way it is. So like, we often talk about, man, it doesn't seem like anybody's good out here, but we don't do what we have to do to get the help that we need. You know, you don't want to go to therapy and get help, you know, and you have those anger problems, you have those issues, but
So
you don't
true.
want to get help about it. But then
Right.
you're a part of the problem then, because
Right.
it's not just you, it's other people that's also saying the same thing that don't want to get help. So now
I
we have
see.
a group of people on the dating scene who, nobody wants to get help. So we're just going to continue to complain about it. And so that's something that I touched on, and it made people think like, oh, maybe I should go and get some help with something. Some people don't like therapy, but it's something that, I believe you should try to get help, try to see, okay, how does this work, or how can I control this, or what am I doing wrong when it comes to this.
Right. I think before the end of the year is over, I'm gonna get me a T-shirt made with the famous words or the song Michael Jackson did. Look at the man in the mirror,
Right.
because sometimes it's not everybody else. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
it's you.
Absolutely. I agree.
So, what age group are you trying to target with your podcast, or is it just for everybody?
It's for everybody, because I've noticed it's not just people around my age that's listening to me. It's actually like my aunties and my uncles. They're chiming in and they're telling their friends too, and they're like in their 40s. And so it's like, okay, this is for anybody who needs help with this specific issue. Because I think it can happen at any age, honestly, because we're all, 40-year-olds are still dating as well. A lot of people everyone needs help with their mental health. That's just a thing that's just going to continuously happen. So, of course, me talking, I'm thinking I'm just going to, reach people around my age, but it definitely can go for anyone who wants to listen.
And that's good. So, is your target your targets for everyone? So, do you hone on more topics like towards young women, or just like men and women your age, or how do you decipher when you begin to talk about different things? Your target
um,
audience.
my target audience, I mean, depending on the topic. So, I do go for men and women my age, depending on, like, let's say if I see something on Twitter, I'm like, okay, yeah, this is what they're talking about right here.
Sure.
But if I go
Yeah.
on Facebook and I see, okay, the older audience, they're discussing, like, I think I discussed whoopings, right?
Okay.
The older audience, they're like, no, I think children need to be disciplined in this kind of
Yes.
way. That's what they're
Right.
gonna think.
Right.
And us younger people now, we're like, no, we're not doing our kids like that.
Right. We're not going to be toxic.
Right. So now we have this, and I get, like, aunties, uncles come to me like, what? You really think that? Like, you shouldn't
Yeah.
discipline your kids like that? So
Yeah.
it's reaching many people in that
Right.
audience and in this audience. So
Right.
it, yeah.
But that's good, because like we said just a few seconds ago, that sometimes it's not the age that connects to wisdom. It's just about sometimes just life experiences. So I think that you're doing a wonderful job. I still have more podcasts to listen
Mhm.
to. So what is your goal moving forward in 2023? Are you still going to hold on the relationships, or as you get older, more experiences that you're dealing with, or how does
I
that look?
I definitely want to, do things differently. I may actually change the whole thing of how I'm doing the podcast, maybe
Good.
more, maybe camera time, that's what I'm leaning more towards. But for as topics, I feel like relationships is an ongoing thing, but I don't mind giving my experience with things. I kind of do now, but I don't like to give too much details.
I see.
Although people like that, this is my personal life. So I'm not going to give
Right.
you too
Right.
much details, but
Right.
just enough to, help you be better. Whatever is
Yeah.
relatable to you. You see, oh, this is how she got out of this situation, or this is how this helped her. So I don't mind doing that. I actually don't mind being transparent, because I believe when you heal from a situation, you can help another person heal from the situation. So
That's
if
good.
I tell you about what I heal from, and my past experience, it may help you because you may be in the same situation I was in. So I don't mind doing that, but I give my own experience, not too much detail. I want to change the videoing of
That's
things.
wise.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. So I'm gonna pick your brain here just for 1 second. W- what would you say is the hardest thing to deal with while dating in 2022?
Ooh.
While we're a month away from this year being over.
Hardest thing to deal with while dating. I think oftentimes the mindset that people have when you're dating them sometimes, like a lot of people, well, I'm not gonna say a lot of people, but the people I tend to date seem to think like we the dating this generation thinks that you're just supposed to be in love with them the first week of meeting them,
I
right?
see.
Like you're supposed to be head over heels for them. And for me,
Hmm.
I'm more so like I want to get to know you
Yeah.
to actually like you and then go
Hmm.
to, loving you or being in love with you. And so I think just trying to rush the process is what a lot of people do. And I'm not the person who say to take years now. I don't believe in years of, that, but I do believe in taking your time and getting to know people instead of rushing the process, because it doesn't make it better because you're rushing it. You
That's
want
so
to get
true.
to know someone. So
Right.
yeah, that mindset of, oh, I have to rush and get into this relationship. No.
But but what if the man says, "I know that I have a good woman. She works this, that, and the other. She can cook. She can clean. Whatever the factors may be for that specific gentleman." Is it? But is it to the woman's perspective? Is it still like, okay, I may be a good catch, but that doesn't mean anything?
It depends on when, like, when is the timeline of this, right?
I see.
Because if you're saying all of this and we only know each other for a week, you don't even know that. Like, but
I
if
see.
it's a month in, I would see how you would come to that. Like, oh, I'm getting to know this person quite a lot now.
Right.
And this is someone that I think like, wow, this could be the one. That is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But continue to know people. Like,
I
see how
see.
they are in different situations. Actually
Right.
meet people, because it can just be like us texting back and forth for a week and we haven't met yet. You cannot tell me that you're in love with me after a week of just texting.
That's kind of
Let's not
scary.
rush it. Yeah, that's
Right.
scary. So get to know people.
That's so true. Yeah. Well, sometimes people gotta be honest. It's lust. It's lust
Mm,
driving them, and
right.
yeah, we like I said, we don't have time to go into a therapy session, but this is good. We just wanted to shine light to those who have different podcasts, and I think that you're doing a wonderful job, and have been for a while. I know that you came on and taught a Bible study some time ago, and people were just thrilled and excited about it. So I want to thank you, and to all of our viewers. Let's see, we got people on Facebook.
Thank you.
My friend here in Dallas, Elder Davis. A lot of people fall in love with the idea of you. You're right,
That's
sir.
true.
Laniya, can
That's
you
so true.
explain that with what Brother Davis is saying?
The idea of you. Just I think people don't really want to, sometimes some people, I'm not gonna say all people, they don't actually want to be with you. Which I'm kind of probably gonna repeat what he said, but just the idea of, okay, this person has this person has that. It seems like you would want to be with me. But I think in actuality, some people they aren't willing to actually be in relationship, or actually want to, like, let's stick this thing out, let's get to know you, but they like it on the outside, it looks good on the outside. But I don't want to be in relationship with you. It's, I don't know, but that can go many different ways as well. So yeah.
So when does one decide like this person is just here for the ride? Because sometimes some people this can happen, whether it be friendships or relationships. If I know that you can do something for me,
Mhm,
I'll hook up with you. I'll stay close
mhm.
to you. I'll try to tell you how good you are because I need something from you. So when does the line of connection finally sever if you know that this person is just there to use you? Whether it be your time, whether it be a texting friend, a buddy on the phone, there's multiple different avenues. But when do you
Mhm.
cut the line?
I think for me, as soon as I find out, I don't really
So you don't play
waste.
games.
I don't. I really don't.
Okay.
I don't honestly because I feel like it's wasting both of our time.
That's right.
And what's the point of me wasting your time and wasting my time? Let's just be honest. And I'm really
Mm,
big on people telling people, "Hey, I'm no longer interested," and that may hurt.
yeah.
But you also did them a favor because I don't believe in ghosting people and leaving people in the dark about, a situation. Like, let people know how you feel about something. Don't be harsh. Don't, some things will come off as harsh though. Someone
Yeah.
telling you I'm no
Yeah.
longer interested, it's probably going to hurt your feelings a little bit if you wasn't
Right.
expecting it.
Right.
But I'd rather a person say that to me than to leave me in the dark, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
This whole ghosting thing, do you think sometimes it's needed or it's never needed? I know you have a podcast talking about it. Like if you
um,
just know something is not going to work or it's not good for your mental health.
I think the adult thing to do is to always communicate.
That's true.
Because that person deserves that. You know what I'm saying? It's also helping you learn how to communicate to people when
That's
you
so
no
true.
longer want something. So if I communicate, hey, I'm no longer interested, you got it and I got it. Now, if you take that and continue to try to talk to me after I've already explained to you I'm no longer interested, then I don't have to respond to you no more because I
Right.
already told you. So I think that's
Right.
the only time that it's okay because that's not really ghosting. You communicated. So
Right.
that's the only time I feel like it's okay to leave a person alone after you already explained to them, hey, I don't want you. They're still texting you. Okay, that's done. But always communicate to people that I don't think it's ever right, and I don't think people deserve that. You know?
That's true. And like you said, that is the adult way.
Yeah.
Of course, I think we all have ghosted people at one point or another. But like you said, if you know
Yeah.
something is not going to work out, just say that and just move on.
Right.
So, well, do you have any other final thoughts or anything that you want to say before we close out tonight?
Not. I don't.
Okay. Okay. Well, I want to thank everybody for tuning in on tonight. Again, we just wanted to come to you to showcase these different podcasts, ministries, sessions, people on this November month. I believe next Tuesday or Wednesday, whatever the 8th is, we have Pastor Jaquan Gamble who will be talking about his podcast and his financial work that he is doing. And then we will continue on from there. So I want to thank all of those who are watching via Facebook, those who are watching via YouTube. Please subscribe to our page. Please like and share this video. And also check out Laniya's Yakira's Perspective podcast on they can see it on Apple, right?
And
And,
Spotify.
and Spotify.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're sitting at work doing nothing or you don't have anything else to do, check out our podcast and leave some
Yes.
feedback.
Yes.
And
Thank you.
yes, thank you to everybody. God bless you, Pastor Davis, and to everybody. So everybody have a good night. Thank you.